Greetings, salutations, respect, and love. I'm Scott, and you, my dear friends, have wandered on to the Prog Corner. So what in the world are we doing today? Talking about Kurt Vonnegut? Well, last week I did my wife's favorite prog albums, and I had mentioned that the two things that my wife and I had bonded over when we first met were the band Guided by Voices and Kurt Vonnegut. So yeah, I knew she was my soulmate, absolutely. I have talked at length about how I never went to school. I lived on a sailboat, and then I went to college after that. So I never read a whole lot of literature per se. I never read any Shakespeare until I got out of college. I became obsessed with Shakespeare, and then later on, Chuck Palahniuk became a really, really big thing for me. But all the way through, it's always been Kurt Vonnegut, man. I love Kurt Vonnegut so much. Born November 11th in 1922 in Indianapolis. Maybe that's part of why I relate to the guy too. The Midwesterners kind of have this homespun, down to earth kind of thing. It's why I love Robert Pollard from Dayton, Ohio, and it's why I love Kurt Vonnegut. He left us in 2007. Dude went to Carnegie Tech. My dad went to Carnegie Tech, so that's cool. They were both engineers. Dude had written short stories and plays and nonfiction and all that, but it's the 14 novels that I'm going to be really digging into. Some of those short stories, collections, Canary in the Cat House, Welcome to the Monkey House, Bagumbo, Snuff Box, God Bless You, Dr. Kevorkian. Great stuff. But like I said, I'm focusing on the 14 actual novels. Why are we talking about Kurt Vonnegut on the Prog Corner? Well, Kurt Vonnegut has influenced so many musicians over the years, it's not even funny. Art Brut had a song called Late Sunday Evening, and the lyrics go, "You were sick, but now you're well again, and there's work to do." Yeah, we know what book that came from. Ambrosia had a song called Nice, Nice, Very Nice. New Order. The song Blue Monday, I wonder where that came from. Yeah, Kurt Vonnegut. There's a band called Billy Pilgrim. There's a band called Dead-Eye Dick. Elvis Costello claims his song Man Out of Time was about Billy Pilgrim. Joe Satriani has a song called Ice Nine. Al Stewart has a song called Sirens of Titan. The Verve have a song called So It Goes. Ringo Starr dedicated his 1973 album Ringo to Kilgore Trout. The Smashing Pumpkins have a song called Galapagos. Pearl Jam's publishing company is Innocent Bystander. The Nixons have an album called Foma. The Grateful Dead, big Vonnegut people, I guess they bought the rights to Sirens of Titan. Robert Hunter, songwriter who wrote with the Grateful Dead a lot. His publishing company is called Ice Nine Music. And finally, Moby put out an album called Everything Was Beautiful and Nothing Hurt. His 15th album back in 2018. So obviously Kurt Vonnegut is definitely connected with musicians over the years. And of his 14 novels, I contend that 9 of them are perfect, 10's just amazing. I'm ranking them, and I'm starting right now with number 14. It's his first one from 1952 called Player Piano. Yeah, this was, primordial Vonnegut, a lot of the things that made Vonnegut so special. Not really here. This is more like a straight up science fiction type of thing. It's about automation and technology, and it definitely sidles up really well with what Kurt had been doing, working for GE and Schenectady. A lot of post-World War II-isms here. I mean, World War II had only been done for 7 years. The main guy here is Dr. Paul Proteus and the Shah of Bratpur. It's all right. I've read it once. I probably won't read it again. At number 13, I'm going with Hocus Pocus from 1990. This is a book that disappointed me when it first came out. I like it, but I didn't love it. It tells the story of Eugene Debs Hartke, who was a Vietnam vet, and he ponders the reality that he killed as many people in Vietnam as women that he's slept with in his life. And at the end of the book, we actually get the number. The number's 82. He slept with 82 women. He killed 82 people. The name obviously is an amalgamation of Eugene Dobbs, who was a American labor leader, and Vance Hartke, who was an anti-war senator from Indiana. Hartke becomes a teacher at a prison owned by a Japanese corporation. All the prisoners are black. And then we have a big giant escape and they take over Tarkington College. And it's just a big giant mess. But it's a good book, but I don't love it. Now we're getting into some better ones at number 12 from 1979. It's Jailbird. And this is Vonnegut's Watergate book, I guess. Tells the story of Walter Starbuck, who was the least known of the Watergate burglars, and he goes to prison, and when he comes out, he meets Kilgore Trout. Somehow he gets involved in all this crazy stuff, and the book is basically kind of an ode to the American labor movement, McCarthyism, and Nixon definitely cast a pall over all the proceedings. Kurt Vonnegut really liked this one, but the critics were a little lukewarm. There's some really cool things in here, some cool quotes like typical Vonnegut. What's the difference between an enzyme and a hormone? You can't hear an enzyme. We referenced the Sacco Vanzetti 1921 trial, so we're talking about race relations. The Ramjet Corporation, apparently a dude becomes involved with that. And at some point you got to ask yourself, is this cat really just kind of like another version of Mr. Rosewater, where the protagonist is neither good nor bad, kind of having traits of both? At number 11, let's go with the predecessor, 1976's Slapstick. I like this one better. It's about, slapstick Laurel and Hardy, I guess, is the reference point here. It is the autobiography of Dr. Wilbur Daffodil 11 Swain and his daughter Eliza and his granddaughter Melody Oriole 2 Van Peterswald. And the idea here is that he's going to create a brand new type of family, a super extended family. There's going to be no more loneliness. Lonesome no more is the subtitle to this book. And I guess at some point, Dr. Swain decides he's going to run for president, and that's his campaign slogan. And at some point, the Chinese decide they're going to come up with a plan to make themselves really small. And we have something called the Green Plague, which is basically you're just inhaling tiny little Chinese people. Hi-ho! All the way through, he talks, in this weird Vonnegut language. Only in the world of Vonnegut can you get the King of Michigan fighting the Duke of Oklahoma. Just crazy stuff. I love it. It makes no sense, but it's really, really fun. At number 10, from 1965, it's God Bless You, Mr. Rosewater, parenthetically titled Pearls Before Swine. This tells the story of Senator Lister Ames Rosewater and his son Elliot. Fred Rosewater and a guy named Norman Mashari are setting out to prove that Elliot's crazy because they want the old man's fortune. And apparently Elliot and all this stuff is kind of anagram for T.S. Eliot, going through the wasteland and all that. Big political feeling all the way through this, obviously. The name of the main character is basically, combining Barry Goldwater and Franklin Delano Roosevelt. And the leading character in this book is a large sum of money. The American Dream. The prose of Vonnegut, man. Just amazing. The American dream turned belly up, turned green, bobbed to the scummy surface of cupidity unlimited, filled with gas, went bang in the noonday sun. That's just amazing writing. If you don't like his prose, you obviously don't know what you're talking about. At number 9, it's Mother Night from 1962. Yeah, the year I was born. I remember they made a movie out of this with Nick Nolte. Tells the story of Howard H. Campbell, an American who moves to Germany and becomes a Nazi propagandist, but apparently somewhere along the line, he's actually a double agent. The American government got to him, and he's actually working for the U.S., but he was such a good Nazi propagandist, when the war was over, they had to arrest him, and he goes to jail. He befriends Adolf Eichmann in an Israeli prison. This is I guess they call this metafiction, is the type of writing we're doing here. He meets a guy named George Kraft, who's a Soviet agent. It's just, there's a whole bunch of craziness going on in Mother Night. But basically, he is guilty of crimes against himself. And the tagline here is, be careful what you pretend to be, right? Because you just might turn into that person. Great book, great story. At number 8, it's Timequake, Vonnegut's final piece of genius, man, from 1997. One of my biggest regrets in life is he was doing a book tour, came to Miami. He had an event scheduled at Florida International University, and for whatever reason, I did not go. I will regret that forever. This book is crazy. Apparently, he wrote a book called Timequake, and he didn't like it, so he rewrote it, called it Timequake 2, with all these little anecdotes thrown in there. Is it really a book? Is it a novel? Or is it just a collection of Vonnegut's thoughts? Clearly he knew that this was his final book, and you feel it, the emotional impact, the awareness, the self-awareness that Vonnegut shows in this book is just amazing. Yeah, you got Vonnegut in here as a character, as he was in Breakfast in America, or Breakfast of Champions. I don't know if Kurt Vonnegut was ever a Supertramp fan, but that would have been cool. So I guess people do these Timequake things where they, I guess they get unstuck in time like Billy Pilgrim, and then when they come out, they're all filled with ennui, and, they just don't care about anything. So, at the end, everybody gets together, all the different authors and whatnot, they all get together and have themselves a clam bake. Ting-a-ling! Oh, yeah, and I guess throughout this book, he throws in, he's in heaven now. And it functions very similarly to So It Goes in Slaughterhouse 5. We're going to talk about that literary device in a minute. At number 7, oh yeah, it probably a little low. I know a lot of people love this one. It's The Sirens of Titan from 1959. Yeah, this is where Vonnegut started getting really, really good here. It's about a Martian invasion. Free will is definitely one of the main components to this, and the purpose of human existence. Yeah, it's a sci-fi story, but it's so much more than that. You get Malachi Constant and his enormous amount of luck. Winston Niles Rumford and his dog Kazakh. You deal with quantum mechanics, and for the first time, we're encountering the Tralfamadorians, who will obviously be a big part of Slaughterhouse 5. Sirens of Titan's a fun book. I really like it, but man, there's 6 I like more. At number 6, from 1982, it's Dead-Eye Dick. Oh, what a fun book. I mean, Vonnegut kind of was in a little bit of a rut with Slapstick and Jailbird, but this took him right out of it, man. This tells the story of 12-year-old Rudy Waltz, and he's just messing around, fires off a gun in his apartment, and ends up killing a pregnant woman. Yeah, not cool. Apparently they're from Midland City, Ohio, which is the basis for Breakfast of Champions. A neutron bomb just destroyed that fictitious city. But Rudy Waltz's dad talks at length about his friendship with Adolf Hitler in this book. There's a whole bunch of randomness to the events going on here. That randomness, again, definitely a feature of Vonnegut, keeping you just a little bit off your toes, keeping you thinking about stuff. Guilt is probably the primary emotion throughout this, how Rudy deals with what he's done. Very good book. Number 5. Oh, I love this one, man. From 1987, it's Blackbeard. This is just such a great book. Unexpectedly good. Tells the story of Rado Karabekian. He's an American expressionist painter whom we first met in Breakfast of Champions. He had a small little role there. And he meets this woman called Cersei Bierman, who is probably the strongest female character in all of Vonnegut. She's an amazing character, very memorable character. She wants, she wants to control Rado and what he does, and he kind of lets her do it. But the one thing he is not going to let her do is get into that potato barn. He's got a potato barn out back, and nobody's going to be allowed to see it. This is about committed and moral art, and obviously, Vonnegut is feeling himself as the artist here, and survivor syndrome is a theme throughout this, and I just obviously with the strong female character here, women's rights in general, I think, is a main theme of Bluebeard. Such an amazing book. Check it out. One of his lesser known works, but just amazing. At number 4, from 1985, it's Galapagos. Oh, I love this one. His 11th novel. The the world is in a global financial crisis, and the people, like, I guess they end up, a bunch of like desperate people go to the Galapagos, to Santa Rosalia Island. This talks about fertility. I guess the rest of the world becomes infertile. The only people who can have babies live on this one island in the Galapagos. And over time, being that they're on an island, they start coming up furry and they have flippers and stuff. And it's just a wild story about how evolution does its own thing. And, you know, the whole idea is that human brains are just in the way, because as this new kind of human evolves in the Galapagos, the giant head is no longer good because it's not good for aquadynamics. You can't swim as fast with a big old head. So heads started getting smaller and smaller. People's brains started shrinking because they could swim better that way. The villain of this story is the human's oversized brain. At number 3, oh yeah, Breakfast of Champions from 1973, subtitled Goodbye Blue Monday. What a weird book, man. I remember reading this and looking at all the pictures in there. I'm like, what in the world is Kurt Vonnegut, man? What is he doing? Tells the story of Dwayne Hoover, who's a Pontiac dealer in Midland City, Ohio. Obviously a fictitious city, but it feels a whole lot like Dayton to me as I'm reading it. Yeah, he's obviously got Dayton in its crosshairs. Kilgore Trout shows up here. Dwayne's got he's got a foil name. What is his name? It's an identical name. I think his name is like Dwayne Hubler, who is a black guy, so you get racial relations. Mental illness is definitely a theme here. And of course, as always, free will, or the lack thereof, a big feature in Vonnegut's work. And I love how he uses like American references in this to really drive home the point. You know, the Holiday Inns, the Pontiac dealerships, the Kentucky Fried Chickens, they all make an appearance, and they all stand for something else in like a metaphoric sense. Breakfast of Champions, great, unbelievable. But the top 2 Vonnegut books, man, are unassailable. In fact, I might go so far as to say these are my 2 favorite books of all time. At number 2, from 1963, it's the incredible Cat's Cradle. Oh, the first thing I ever read by Vonnegut. I was completely blown away by this story of the narrator, whose name is Jonah. We never really find out his real name, but apparently he goes to some island, San Lorenzo in the Caribbean, and he meets up with Papa Manzano and his daughter Mona, and he's got with him, you know, there's a little piece of Ice 9, and I guess, you know, it's a whole big deal. Ice 9 turns water into ice all around the world. So I guess they kill Papa Manzano with Ice 9, and they're flying him like in tribute over the island. The plane crashes into the ocean, and all the oceans freeze over, and the world is over. The Cuban Missile Crisis definitely informed this book with its visions of the world ending, an absolute global catastrophe. Oh, but what an incredible book. You got the books of Bokonon with all the calypsos. I guess they call the different books of it calypsos. Just so much fun. I love how each chapter is like a page or a page and a half long. You can just cut through it, and it's just amazing. Cat's Cradle. Shocking, there's one even better, but you know what it is. If you're watching this video about Kurt Vonnegut, you know what's number 1, and rightfully so. It hurts my heart because I love Cat's Cradle so much, but come on, there can only be one best Vonnegut novel. And of course, it's the mighty Slaughterhouse 5 from 1969, subtitled The Children's Crusade. Oh, this everything you want from Vonnegut right there in one book. It's just absolutely nuts. It's insane how he breaks down that fourth wall, and he shows you how he's writing the book. You know, he's got all these different lines and, you know, all these different story ideas on the floor. So he's seeing it all from start to finish. Just like the Tramalfadorians see everything from start to finish. Their books are written just that way, where you don't read it from the start and then go to the end. They see it all at once. Billy Pilgrim gets unstuck in time. Of course, he's kind of a stand-in for Kurt Vonnegut, who went to war and got captured in the Battle of the Bulge, and they put them in a POW camp, and there's going to be some bombing in Dresden, so they put these guys in like a slaughterhouse, and the only reason they survived was, I guess, it was an old building. You know, everything in Dresden got firebombed and ruined and destroyed, but the POWs were okay, including Kurt Vonnegut. A lot of time travel going on here, a lot of craziness. You get Elliot Rosewater on here. He introduces himself to Kilgore Trout, but I think probably the main thing is the literary trick that he uses with that one phrase. So it goes. You know, you read it anytime he talks about somebody that passed away from the war or whatever. So it goes. And at first it's like, wow, that's really interesting. He's going to do that every time, huh? And then it kind of just gets annoying, right? And it's like, this is just, he's going to do this every time. And then after a while, you just kind of don't even notice it anymore. The exact same thing that Kurt Vonnegut said he experienced in war about death itself. At first, it was like interesting, right? And then it was kind of annoying, and then he just didn't even notice anymore. Oh, man, the genius of Kurt Vonnegut, man. Oh, I love him so much. Thank you for indulging me today in this. I know it's a little bit outside my wheelhouse, talking about books, talking about literature. Don't expect a whole lot, because like I said, I don't read a whole lot. The only other thing I could see myself doing is ranking all 37 of Shakespeare's plays, or the Chuck Palahniuk series. I love him, but I don't read a whole bunch, man. I'm too busy listening to music. Anyway, Sunday, the Sunday prog stream is going to be so good this week, boys and girls. 1 o'clock Eastern, live, we are doing a tribute to the great Neil Peart, in praise of the mighty Neil Peart. And me and the panelists will be talking about our 10 favorite Neil Peart moments, either lyrically or instrumentally. Who cares, whatever. It's Neil Peart we're talking about. So it's going to be awesome. Anyway, guys, I'll see you then. Peace in the Middle East. Free Tibet, and God save the king. Save him. Oh, yeah. That king could use some saving right about now. Save King Chucky. Bring him to America. Oh, yeah. Bring him to America. We'll lay some hands on him, do some spells and incantations. We'll drink some poison. And then you know what we're going to do. Oh, yeah, we're going to dance with snakes. Woo, yeah. Dance with them snakes. We're going to be just fine. Them snakes ain't going to get us. No, they won't. I got the spirit of Jesus in me. I love you guys. I'll see you Sunday. Peace.